All right. Well, I'm joined here by the great Maya, who I've known for many, many years, who has a startup of her own. And we're here to talk about Claude Code made all the security stocks go down on in one day, like a lot. Uh, what's the deal with that? What do you actually think was going on there?
So the Anthropic released Claude Code Security, which is sort of like an AppSec, vulnerability fixing tool. And I think some element of it is just the market doesn't understand what AppSec is versus everything else. Like, we know, why does CrowdStrike's stock go down for AppSec changes? But I think it's just fear from the market of, oh, is there really something sustainable that's different in security that won't be consumed by LLMs or AI?
Yeah, it's funny. It's not going down because people think that people are going to start magically vibe coding their EDR or something. I don't believe that's going to happen. But yeah, I don't know if all the people making the buying and selling of stock decisions know about AppSec versus data management versus identity and all of these different sub verticals within security. They just saw security and sold stuff is what it seems like.
I think that's exactly what it is. I remember being on a ski lift about a year ago, and I was talking to the guy next to me, and I was like, "Oh, what do you do?" And I was like, "Oh, I work in security." And he was like CrowdStrike?" And I was like, "Why do you know that?" And he's like, "Oh, I hold the stock." He was a cardiologist. And it's like, this is so on brand. Not that there's anything wrong with the CrowdStrike stock. It's just interesting to see, like, those are your retail investors.
Yeah. And so, what do you actually think is going to happen with security? Because there's definitely going to be some
Yeah.
impact, but probably not what the initial reaction was.
I think that there's certainly some parts of security, the areas that were sort of the intelligence layer or even the workflow layers on top of your data or your enforcement points, that are going to have a lot of competition and are going to have some real changes in how they're built in the next couple of years. I don't see LLMs coming for the actual underlying data and infrastructure, enforcement points, and some of the deterministic solutions or deterministic choices we have. I mean, I think you guys are doing, playing both sides, right? And that's working.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I think that there's going to be at some point a big fight for who runs the agents and where they run. Because right now, most people are running agents on their laptops and for coding agents, and
Yeah.
some like with Codex a little bit in the cloud. And I'm sure Anthropic and OpenAI and all of these folks want to run the agents. And so, if you're just an agent company, I think that you're going to have a lot of competition. But what we've seen is that with our agent, because we have the data and the agent, we can make the agent work way better than just plugging in an agent because we know how to prompt it. We can give it the right structure and tell it about how to use our platform. And so that's been really powerful. But yeah, I think that it's going to be really fiercely competitive if you're just an agent and
Yeah.
with a prompt.
Yeah, I think you're sort of saying, like, in my mind there's like three components. It's the data, the prompts, and then the actual agent itself, or where the agent runs. And I think that a lot of um, the underlying infrastructure, having the data and having the prompts, is going to be the differentiation. Not it, if you bring your own agent, if you run it somewhere else, like, what difference does it make as long as you're still using that same enforcement point?
Yeah, and the same is true in the identity space that you all are in. Just because you need a system of record of who works at your company, and that system of record has to work really, really well. What groups, what tags people have, and what their title is, all of that kind of stuff that you're used to seeing in an identity product.
Yeah, and a lot of those decisions are deterministic based
Yeah.
on that, right? Yeah.
And so I guess what are your big takeaways so far with regard to AI and security? I mean, it's been a kind of a whirlwind. It hasn't even been a year since MCP really I mean, the spec came out uh, last November, but it hasn't really even
Yeah.
been a year since all of this has really popped off.
I have the impression we're still on the discovery phase of what's possible, and still haven't necessarily realized a lot of the value that people want to get out of it. But uh, there are certainly areas of security where it's really clear this will help with, like, triage, with testing, with those kinds of things. it doesn't mean it's going to solve everything.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't. And it's crazy. Like this time last year, you might see one or two AI blog posts, but like you open up TLDR Sec or whatever newsletters, security newsletters or news you're reading, and it's like mostly AI related now. And so there's been a dramatic
Yeah.
shift. I think last year people were starting when we're about a month away from RSA. Last year when I went to RSA, people were optimistic but very cautious, but recognizing that there's definitely areas that AI was going to help their team, but just not exactly sure how. And seems like we've gotten a lot closer in the last year, but still nothing that is like truly groundbreaking yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the products that I've seen use AI and security well that I think are like to me really interesting is I look at something like SemGrep as an example, which has a deterministic set of rules. And instead of Claude Code security, which I'm guessing has some vibed prompts around rules, SemGrep seems to be using AI to triage vulnerabilities and triage the findings. And I'm like, yeah, that's the human grunt work that we didn't want to do. We didn't want to trust an AI to vibe and find some things, but we didn't want a human to triage them either. And so there's like a nice balance that they sort of landed on there.
Oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I was telling people like a year ago when they would tell me that they wanted to work on a vuln management startup or help find vulnerabilities, SaaS or whatever. I used to tell them that if you could just somehow justify sending all of the findings to dev null, every CISO will want it because it's just so much grunt work. And even even if they just like focus on the 80% of okay, we know these five things are really critical, and we're going to focus on those and send the rest to dev null. If they just productize that, but yeah, with AI, then it's actually feasible to go triage all of those regular expression denial of service NPM issues and all the kind of
Read the context around it. Someone commented something, what's going on. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
The stuff the human was
Yeah.
doing.
Well, Maya, co-founder, CEO of Oblique Security, thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much.